Broken Kanu's way, and Dahui's right out of the centre. It's Kanu, what's he going to do? Oh! Can you believe it?
Hello Arsenal fans, and welcome back to a new episode of Can You Believe It, an Arsenal podcast. And I'm here talking to you about a game which really infuriated me and a game which infuriated a lot of fans, and that's the 2-1 defeat against Villarreal in the first leg of the Europa League semi-final. The result on its own is not awful. Arsenal are still in the tie. They have an away goal, a crucial away goal. But the performance on the night was absolutely shambolic. It was pretty awful. We didn't threaten them at all. We overthought things. And I'll get into the specifics about it in a minute. But some of the things I wrote on my notes were ridiculous. When the second goal went in, there were a lot of feelings going through my head. And I'll get more into that as we get into the podcast. But let's get into the lineup. Bernd Leno started in goal, so I know there was a bit of doubt if he would start because of the mistake he made against Everton, but I'm glad that he did start because he had a really good contribution in the second half. Callum Chambers at right back with Rob Holding captain on the night and Pablo Mari at centre back. I was surprised that Gabriel didn't start or come in. I was a bit weirded out by that. Granit Xhaka continued at left back, so that means it was Partey and Dani Ceballos. And then the front four were Saka, Odegaard, Pepe and Smith-Rowe. So obviously the first thing that you've noticed is that there was no striker in the lineup. We were playing with a false nine. Now, originally when the lineup came up, I thought Pepe was the striker with three creators behind him, which I thought wasn't the worst idea in the world. Obviously, you still prefer a striker, and if Aubameyang hadn't been coming off malaria and Lacazette had been fit to make this game, Eddie Nketiah hadn't really had a good game against Everton, then all these options probably would have started. Obviously, there's the big one of Gabriel Martinelli, who's obviously a forward with goal threat, and he can play up front, and it was a bit odd that he wasn't given the reins in this game at all. But it seemed like we went with Pepe up front, and what ended up happening actually was that Emile Smith-Rowe was at false nine. Now, I like Emile Smith-Rowe, but he's no false nine. This seemed like something Arteta had overthought, because I don't know what the plan was. He went on after the game about, we tried the plan, we tried something different, and it just didn't come off. But I have no idea what the intention was of the team with false nine in the squad. And I don't understand why, because you could put anyone at false nine, but it really wouldn't have made a difference because Arsenal were missing a presence up front. And that's not to say that they were missing a target man or a Lacazette, for example. They were just missing someone who would take up those central spaces, because Emile Smith-Rowe is a really good player, but he excels by going out wide and dribbling past fullbacks. He's really good at that. And then other players fill that central role. But with him being told to be centre, it didn't really work. So you had Odegaard dropping deep, because that's technically what he does a lot. And you had Pepe on the left. He was drifting in on the right. Sometimes he was sometimes at the central. But a lot of the time he wants the ball to feet. And then Smith-Rowe, he does make runs in behind, but I think he had one instance where he did, but the rest of the time it wasn't really good. And obviously the other worry was Xhaka at left back. We obviously got good news about Tierney, that he was back in training, which was fantastic, but he didn't make the squad on the night. So hopefully he's back next week. But obviously you had a worry because of COYG against Xhaka, and it contributed to the first goal. And Xhaka did get some assistance from Dani Ceballos, but they couldn't stop COYG going down the right-hand side. COYG gets a bit of fortune. It comes up to Trigueros, who smacks it into the bottom corner, and it's 1-0 Villarreal in the worst possible start within 5 minutes of the game. Disaster started, and we hadn't really started well at all. Villarreal were pretty good. I think we started to bring more pressure on in the 12th minute, and we started to produce some possession to get some pressure and get some possession at least, which we just didn't do within those first 12 minutes. Ceballos and Partey were passing well, and obviously that says something with how bad Ceballos was on the night. We were putting the pressure on, we were producing some nice build-up. Pepe looked up against it against Foyth. We had a chance maybe on the counter where Ceballos produced a really bad pass. Saka had a shot over, but we had some good build-up. And then they scored a second, and it was just really bad all round, really bad defending. The new set-piece coach, I have no idea what he's doing in terms of how he's coaching the team. It was from a corner, it was flicked on, and Raul Albiol, 35-year-old Raul Albiol, got a tap in at the back post. No one marking him. In a Europa League semi-final, the defender was shambolic. It was bad. And it was exactly what Villarreal deserved, and it was everything we deserved because we had been poor. Yes, we had been getting into the game, but I know we had been producing good possession, but we hadn't been turning that possession into chances, into an amazing amount of shots. And we were now 2-0 down, in real trouble. We had a potential penalty where Pepe went through. It was a great through ball through. And he got fouled by Foyth. Penalty given. But then VAR overturned it for handball. It was the correct decision. It was a clear handball from Pepe. So we hadn't been given the luck. And what really annoyed me was just how easy it was to play through us. Foyth, the Tottenham loanee, a centre-back by trade, was dribbling past our players like there was nobody there. I just didn't understand how this team could produce such a bad performance. It's obviously on the players, but it's on the manager as well. He set up the team like this. He set up with Thomas Partey being a one-man midfield. He set up with no recognised striker in the side. It is on him as well. It was just not good enough from Arsenal's point of view at all. So we go in at half-time, 2-0 down. And I tweeted at this time that take Ceballos off, put Cedric on, put him at left-back, and put Xhaka in midfield. Ceballos was on a yellow card, it made sense. And then put either Martinelli or Aubameyang on up front and take off one of Smith Rowe or Odegaard, probably Odegaard in this instance. But no changes at half-time. Now, I have to make this comment now. Unai Emery made a change at half-time. He took off Paco Alcacer and brought on Coquelin. So, obviously, he was very content with it being 2-0 Villarreal. And to be honest, I don't blame him because we looked passive. We just didn't get close to them at all. And we came out in the second half and we were producing, again, a bit of good possession. Build-up play was good. It wasn't turning into shots, but it was at least pressure. And then Dani Ceballos gets sent off. Now, the challenge, I don't think is a yellow card, but when you're on a yellow card, you are risking yourself for any sort of mistake. And that's what it was. It was a mistake. The player made the most of it, but, you know, he can have no complaints. And that red card was on Mikel Arteta 100%. Why he was on the pitch, I have no idea. And I know Arteta said he was planning to take him off, but Martinelli wasn't ready soon enough. That's no excuse. Why didn't you do it at half-time? There was a change you could have made very easily. I'm probably assuming that Saka would have gone left back and Martinelli would have came on for Ceballos, freeing Xhaka to go into central midfield. But why didn't you do that at half time if that's something you recognised? The team were bad in the first half. There was precedent to make changes at half time. I know coaches don't like making changes at half time because sometimes you want to see if the team that you started with can produce a better performance within that second half. But we just didn't do that at all. So for Ceballos to stay in the field was a bad decision from Mikel Arteta. And I have no idea why he was kept on. It got to about 67 minutes and we had 0 shots on target. That was bad. This was pre-Boxing Day Arsenal. This was just not good enough from us at all. There wasn't even like sterile possession. It was just bad. We were an average team. And then somehow we get an absolute lifeline. I have no idea how we've been given this, but Saka gets a penalty, wins a penalty for us. It looked like a foul, maybe a dive, but I don't care at this point. It was a penalty, given a penalty. Pepe steps up and puts it away. We get an away goal. Great. You're thinking 2-1. That's fine. And to be honest, we were incredibly lucky to be 2-1 because Bernd Leno made an incredible save against Gerard Moreno when he had been given the freedom of the box from a good pass. And he made a great save to keep us in it. Because at 3-0, it's over. Villarreal probably going through. But he makes a really good save. And then we get another chance. And Villarreal go down to 10 men. And Etienne Capoue, who is obviously ex-Spurs, produced a really bad challenge. He was obviously on a yellow card. Produced a bad challenge on Bukayo Saka. He goes down injured anyway, but he gets sent off so they can't bring on someone else. So it's 10-10. And I have no idea why Arsenal did not go for it in those last 10 minutes. I understand there was a bit of caution because if you can see the third, it's going to be incredibly difficult in the second leg. But they had no interest in attacking at that point. Coquelin had come on for Paco. Like, they really had no intention of attacking. He waited until the 85th minute to bring Aubameyang on. And I know Aubameyang has just come back from malaria. I know it's been pretty difficult for him recently. But he should have come on as soon as that red card was shown. He could have brought on another player as well. He could have brought on Reece Nelson or he could have brought on Willian if he wanted. I know he brought on Martinelli already. But it just, again, it was just not good enough from us. And to be honest, we could have got a second goal and gone into this tie level with 2 away goals. Aubameyang with a big chance. Partey produced a beautiful pass, but Aubameyang slips and it wasn't to be. And the game finished 2-1. Those last 10 minutes were bad because we were just producing stupid decisions with our passing. We just weren't getting out. That Partey pass to Aubameyang was really the only pressure we had in those last 10 minutes. It just wasn't good enough from Arsenal all night. And that was because of the manager, because he tried to be too smart. I know Aubameyang has just come back from malaria. Lacazette is injured. But you have Gabriel Martinelli on the bench, who's always threatening, always a threat. And Pepe was our best player on the night, I thought, because he was the only one who could actually take on the man who was actually brave enough. Everyone else is a tidy player who can pass very well, but none of them are going to take on man. Like Saka, I know he can, but he had a poor night apart from the penalty. He got into it more in the second half, but I still think he wasn't incredible. But that's mainly because of his high standards, not Arsenal in general. It's another first leg that Arteta has wasted and Arteta hasn't gone for it. That's 3 first legs this season in the Europa League where we just haven't produced a good performance. You have the first leg against Benfica where we drew 1-1, where we should have put them to bed, really. We had chances, but we just didn't do it. It seemed like Arsenal were just content on getting one away goal. The Slavia Prague first leg, we again should have put them to bed. They were there for the taking. We took ages to bring on some attacking subs in terms of being able to get in behind them, and we conceded a sucker punch away goal. And then this game, where we decided to play a false nine system, it didn't work. We reacted way too late. We lost the man because Arteta didn't make those changes. It was just a bad night all round. It's another bad first leg for Arsenal. As a coach, you're not going to get everything right all the time. There are going to be some instances where you get stuff wrong, where your lineup hasn't been good enough, or the tactics on the day have not matched up what you were thinking in your head. But the good managers react to these quickly. Arteta doesn't do this at all. Ceballos on a yellow card, played poorly in the first half. He produced some nice passes, but he had played poorly. Our whole team had played poorly. Why is he not subbed off at half time? Why is he not subbed off earlier? He gets sent off in the 57th minute. You're telling me in those 10 minutes that we had, he couldn't have been brought off? We waited until Gabriel Martinelli came on in the 63rd minute before we started to make changes in the attacking sense. We persisted with the false nine for too long. And this is my issue with Arteta, is that his subs are just not good enough. He just waits too long for these decisions. Arsenal have good attacking players. They may not be balanced, but they have good attacking talent. Aubameyang, Lacazette, Pepe, Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe, Odegaard, Martinelli. And that's not even getting into Reece Nelson, who's a good talent. Even Willian was good last year. He's been terrible this year, but historically he's been a good attacking talent. And we just do not look coherent as an attacking system. That was the worst performance I've seen under Mikel Arteta. It was shambolic. And mainly because for the occasion that we had, Arsenal just didn't produce the goods that they could and should have on the night. Emery gave us a humbling, and we were lucky to get an away goal, really. It was a real humbling experience, and I think if you decided, I'm done with this manager, I can't blame you at this point, because that game was so bad that I think it was a turning point for a lot of people. For me, I ultimately don't care anymore, because I've said many times on this podcast that I think Arteta is a decent coach, but maybe he's not right for us, and that's fine. Like, what's the thing about hiring coaches is that you've got to think about those decisions, and if they do go wrong, to swiftly remove them. Now, I have no doubt in my mind, regardless of what happens next Thursday, if we go out, if we go through, if we lose to Manchester United in the final, who produced an incredible performance, 6-2 against Roma, I have no doubt in my mind that if Arsenal get knocked out, that Mikel Arteta is going to be coach next year. There is no doubt in my mind. So if that's going to happen, then we have to have an incredible transfer window. Selling and buying. We have to buy players that are balanced for our team. Our midfield is awful. Partey aside, and people are obviously turning against Thomas Partey. For me, I think he's a fine player. His passing forward is fantastic. Xhaka does the same thing, but Partey does it on a regular basis. His ball to Aubameyang yesterday was fantastic. So I have no problem with him. None whatsoever. But apart from that, everyone else has a question mark. Xhaka has a dumb moment in him. He can implode. Ceballos, not our player, but even then, he produces some good passes sometimes, but he's too inconsistent, too slow, too rash. Shouldn't be here. He will go back to Real Madrid next summer and probably be sold, because he's not a Real Madrid player. He's not even an Arsenal player, and this is a mid-table Arsenal team. Mohamed El Neni, I mean, If you want a player who will keep the ball ticking, Elneny's your player, but he's not anything after that. I think that was summed up against the Fulham game, where he had a chance to play a Emile Smith-Rowe through, and he just didn't. So, Elneny, I would sell him. So that leaves you with two central midfielders, one of genuine class. The other one we have question marks over. I know people will be screaming about Joe Willock, but Joe Willock could be someone who generates funds for us in the summer. Genuinely. He could get us 20 to 25 million in the summer from a Newcastle because he's scoring goals from midfield. Now, obviously, he confuses me as a player because I don't think he's technically good enough. I think his on-the-ball work is not really good enough for a team where Arsenal want to be. But I think if you can get some money for him, then it's probably perfect. I like Joe Willock. I wouldn't mind either way. Even another loan probably would. But his stock is going to be the highest this summer. If we sell him for 20 to 25 million, that's 20 to 25 million we could get for a player that we weren't using anyway. Do it. Central midfield has to be one of the biggest areas we have to improve in the summer. It has been since Ramsey left, if we're being honest. We just have to get a quality midfielder in. We also have to get in a pure number 10 in terms of one who will produce assists and produce goals. I like Martin Odegaard. A lot of people, again, turning on Martin Odegaard, but maybe you need a player who will produce assists and produce goals a bit more than Odegaard does. Yes, I know that this player that I'm going to mention is an exceptional player, but a Bruno Fernandes type. Someone that's going to transform that attack. We need that player in the summer. You can talk about backup left back, which we need. Backup keeper, which we need. A new right back, which we need. A right-sided centre-back, which we need, but we potentially already have with William Saliba or Mavropanos. But I always look at the attack, and you need better talent there. You need to balance out that talent. Sell Eddie Nketiah. Sell Reece Nelson. If you can get Willian out, do it. Get these players out and bring in players that you will actually use and are actually competent. You have a good base there. You have Bukayo Saka, you have Emile Smith-Rowe. These are players that have landed on your lap for how good of quality they are. Build around them properly. Allow Martinelli to be a striker. You've got Balogun signing a new contract. Sell Lacazette. You've got Aubameyang, you've signed him to a new deal. In hindsight, maybe that wasn't the right decision, but build around him. Make sure he gets 20 goals next season. These are all things that we have to do in the summer. Quality will always come up trump, but the coach is definitely making me doubt things at the moment. I think it's both true now that the players are not good enough, but the coach should be doing better with the players that he has at his disposal. And I think that's the key from this game, is that I think a lot of people turned on Arteta, and I always thought that this game was going to be one that would define Mikel Arteta's Arsenal legacy as a manager. But Arsenal fans would have accepted a defeat if it had come after some heroic or some good performance, but we were just unlucky. But because we got defeated in such a shambolic performance, fans have just had enough. Our worst season for generations. It was that bad, and we're probably going to go into next season without Europe. I know we have a second leg. I know we have an away goal. A lot of Arsenal fans are confident that we can do the job next Thursday, but even if we get to the final, Man United are going to pummel us as well. I'll be shocked if we win this competition. I really will. And you know how desperate I am to win it. Now for Sunday, we obviously have Newcastle. We go to St James's Park. Just don't risk anyone stupid. Give Tierney 15 minutes. Give Aubameyang 60 minutes. If they need to get some match sharpness in them. But don't risk anyone stupid. Rest Saka. Rest Smith-Rowe. Rest Partey. We can't risk those players for next Thursday. No way. Next Thursday will decide a lot for Arsenal, and I hope we produce. the goods, and I hope we do go through. Arteta has produced good performances in the second leg. The only second leg performance that he didn't produce good was the Olympiacos game, and funnily enough, he produced a really good first leg. So we have a chance. We just have to take it. But this club has been a frustrating year. I apologise to all of you because obviously you're probably as sad as I am about this football club at the moment. Things can change quickly in football. I hope it does. But it just seems quite bleak at the moment, especially with all the protests going on, and after the Super League debacle, you would think that Arsenal would try and produce a good performance, and they just didn't. It wasn't good enough last night. Let's hope next week we turn up and can actually get the job done. We obviously have Newcastle on the weekend, but ultimately I don't care about it because the league season's over. We'll finish between 9th and 12th. Who cares at this point? Right, anyway, I'm going to leave the podcast here today. Sorry about the rambling. It was a bit of more of a negative one, but I can only talk about what Arsenal produced on the pitch, and Arsenal just weren't good enough last night. Hopefully we're good enough next Thursday and we can go through to another European final, even if I still don't think we'll go in to win it anyway. Let's hope we get a good performance against Newcastle this weekend to set us up against Villarreal next week. But until then, come on you Gunners.
Well, it's broken Kanu's way, and De Hu is right out of the centre. It's Kanu, what's he going to do? Oh!